Thank you, Diane. I'm much more relaxed now that I know none of you could see me in the bathroom. So I wanted to talk about the rise of conversational media online and what its implications are, sort of the sort of Web 2.0 phase of the internet and the implications on marketing, on brands, and how we think about the metrics for doing that with a couple of case studies at the end. I wanted to start off with a very scientific graph here that's going to, along the left side of the screen is, I want to sort of look at technology over time and how many of us and how we interface with technology. Across the bottom is time from the 1970s to the future. Along the left side is how many people are being touched by technology, and along the right is the total industry size. The first phase of sort of people dealing with computers in the 70s and 80s was technology that allowed specialized people who understood what that C prompt thing was for and how to talk to it, to talk to the back office. It was the beginning of computing. It was sort of mainframe computers and AS400s and the rest. And I bet not many of us in the room know how to talk to those computers. The DIR prompt. Where brands like Intel and Microsoft drove the next phase of computing, it was when the back office and the front office could start to talk to one another. And the way that we dealt with technology, the interface for technology changed. And apologies to my Microsoft and Intel friends in the room, that's a Macintosh up there. But consider it Windows, the Windows interface, where instead of having to understand an arcane language of Fortran or other computer languages, you could actually look at your screen and see an icon and poke on it and see if you found the right one. If you didn't, you closed it and you poked on another one. A step up from the C prompt, still not sort of human interaction. The phase that we've entered into now, kind of the Web 2.0 phase of the internet, the interface is now search. And in most cases, that interface is Google. And while it's still not allowing us to talk to computers in our own language, it's made technology much more accessible to many, many more of us. And I wanted to start here because the implications of search affect the way all of us think about our brands as we communicate with customers online, as we think about marketing efforts, and really our brands at large. I want to start, this is, anybody from Mitsubishi in the audience? No offense, I'm not going to say anything bad about Mitsubishi, but I wanted to start with an example here. This is sort of what Mitsubishi's homepage for the Lancer Evolution, one of their vehicles, this is what they think of as their homepage. This is the first touch point that their brand has with their customers online. It's beautiful. I bet if you roll your mouse over the car, it'll spin around and you can change the color. A lot of investment was made in this because of the belief that this is the first place their brand touches prospective customers online. I would argue that this is actually their homepage in the new era of search. What I've done, for those of you with vision like mine and can't read that, it says Lancer Evolution in the Google search box up there. Hit return, and Lancer Evolution is a trademark. It's one of their vehicle names. What you see here is a Google result page, and the top of the results is a sponsored link. I don't know, someone in the room here probably knows how many pixels Google gives you on a paid link, but it's probably 75 pixels high by 400 pixels. It's good. It's better than it being somebody else, but basically, on your homepage, if this is Lancer Evolution's homepage, they've got a little sliver at the top of the page, and then about the 8th result down, their corporate website is on there. So it's better than not being there at all, but if you think about this as your homepage and you are Mitsubishi, it's a little unsettling how much of the real estate is not controlled or owned by you. And what you're seeing is these photographs up here there's a blog called Auto Spies. It's all about digital spy pictures of new cars. But it's a blog site, one guy named Donald Bufamante. Right here you have Wikipedia. These two listings are another blog site called Left Lane News, run by another single individual named Monish Bhatia. And then we have a couple of fan sites down here. And so what we're beginning to see is, first of all, taking a look at Google as something beyond just a traffic driver to our websites, starting to think of search and the organic results as actually a snapshot or a proxy for how well our brands are doing in the conversation. This conversation is about Lancer Evolution, a Mitsubishi trademark. They're in the conversation. They're not the only people in the conversation. And what we're actually seeing is, to the extent that most of us use Google to navigate the internet, this page is very important, and Google is favoring conversational sites, wikis, blog sites run by single individuals. that don't have a lot of resources yet. For some reason, and we'll talk about that in the rest of the discussion, those results are higher on Mitsubishi's homepage in Google than Mitsubishi's own site. So I want to talk about this in sort of a bigger sense as well. One of these days I'm going to learn how to use PowerPoint, and it's going to be animated. It's going to be much more powerful. If you look at the red line, there's no X or Y axis on this. You're just going to have to believe me. But if you look at any metric for internet usage over the last 10 years, broadband connections, number of hours spent, number of unique users, and on, the red line is a pretty fair approximation of what we're seeing in terms of internet growth, creation of audience and attention to the internet. Yet at the same time, if you track the growth of the usual suspects, the portals and the big brands that we're familiar with, they're seeing relatively flat growth. And that triangle, the triangle of growth that's formed here, is being driven right now by conversational media, social networks, blog sites, wiki sites, and the rest. For those of you who don't believe me, I'm going to actually give you some numbers here. I saw some skeptics out there. This is a snapshot of Nielsen Net Ratings, the research company's stats of the biggest 15 domains on the internet, and it looks at year-over-year growth. So this is December '07 unique users, and this is versus December '06 unique users of websites. And what you see is Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft. Google is superstars, and they're at 9% growth. Microsoft is a little bit down. Yahoo's basically flat. And when you look at the rest of the domains and the destinations online that are seeing double-digit growth, significant double-digit growth or triple-digit growth, they're all platforms of participation. They're all platforms of social media or conversational media. YouTube, Wikipedia, Blogger, which is a Google-owned platform where we can all publish our own sites. Facebook, we all know. Flickr, we know. WordPress, a software platform for people to create blogs. That is where the growth is happening. So we kind of need to pay attention to this. This is going to Nielsen's competitors, looking at some ComScore numbers. ComScore now actually tracks conversational media as its own category. Social networks, blogs, and wikis primarily. And this is, I think this is their October numbers. About 600 million people 600 million uniques around the world are participating in social media, visiting social media sites. There are 2 points I wanted to make on this slide. One of them is it's a big number. 600 million people means that this phenomenon of social media has moved beyond being a niche. Your nephew does a blog and it's funny and silly but not serious. 600 million people say that we have to start thinking about this as business people. The other point I want to make on this slide is that there are not 600 million people that are editing entries at Wikipedia each month. There are not 600 million people that are uploading videos to YouTube each month. The vast majority of these people, of these 600 million people, probably somewhere in the 90 to 99% of those people are consuming information or participating in a very low impact way. It's a much smaller minority, somewhere in the 1 to 10% range, that are creating this content or curating this content that the rest of us are consuming. But I think it's very important just to recognize the size of these numbers.